Hello, good morning, afternoon, or evening, Sir Joseph. Let me introduce myself. I am Tiffany Sharon Simagala, majoring in International Relations, International class, focusing on ASEAN concentration, along with my student number 010432100030. For this specific video, I will be presenting my answers based on the two questions provided by the final exam guidelines given in Moodle. Okay, so heading to the next slide, we can view two questions as I mentioned before. First is explain the origins and characteristics of nationalism in three Southeast Asian countries, one primordial, one modern, and one mixed. And explain why the country of your choosing falls into the mentioned characteristics. And the second question or the last question is what are the factors that influence the emergence of nationalism ideas in Southeast Asia? And please explain. Without further ado, I will start from the first question. Okay, so previously, the first question asked regarding origins and characteristics on nationalism from three Southeast Asian countries, one from primordial, one modern, and one mixed. Whilst for primordial, I chose Thailand. But before we jump right in, I wanted to briefly define primordial. So here, primordial is where a nationality or nations are a natural part of human beings and have existed from time, and it is immemorial. So they have attributes like a religion, race, and ethnicity. Or in simple terms, a nation is something that has already been given, not through process or something constructed. So for instance, like looking from a bigger picture from the international community, we can see or use countries example like China, where they claim superiority of its national culture, and they also experience periods of recess which are destined to awaken them, which refers to the economic instability and downfall of the Qing dynasty back in 1800s, and even got humiliated by the international scope due to this, but they soon climbed back with their economic restoration and proved to the world that they managed to survive through hurdles and continue to surpass the greatness through generations of China itself. And since we already understand the definition of primordial and know the example, we can proceed to Thailand. So Thailand's nationalism has its origin in the history and culture of the country as well its long-term political and economic development. So basically, the country's cultural traditions and the cultivation of unique Thai identity, they have strengthened the sense of national pride and independence from Thailand, and continuing to their characteristics, which are a majority of Buddhism country, along with their system as in monarchy or royal families. And from these factors are what create the exact Thai identity and build the Thai nationalism itself, which is ingrained in their Thailand's geographical borders. And I wanted to add as well, here we can see in the next slide, as additional information. So basically it is about Ridi Banomyong, who is a senior advisor to King Rama VIII, a former king of Thailand, because he was one of the important protagonists in the growth of Thai nationalism. So here, there are importance of social justice, economic growth, and the preservation of traditional Thai culture and values were all highlighted in his views as a Thai nationalism. And he also believed that Thai nationalism should be based on the principle of democracy, equality, and social justice. And more details on why Thailand is primordial is due to the fact that the greatness of Thai was from Siam era passed down up until this day, reminding that one of the long river, as in Chao Phraya River, is what rose Siam to power to the ancestors of a number of powerful kingdoms, culminating in the capital of Ayutthaya, along with their culture and traditions. Okay, after we finish with primordial, we have next is modernism, which I'll be focusing on Indonesia. So modernism is where they view a nation that shares very little in common, but they acknowledge the modernity of nations and nationalism. And nation and nationalism are products of modern processes like capitalism, industrialization, urbanization, secularism, and the emergence of modern bureaucracy. And modern processes or transformations that gave birth to nations and nationalism can be explained from these points of view, like economic transformation, Here, economic transformation, political transformation, and social and cultural transformation. And this could be reflected from Indonesia itself. So basically, back again to the other slide. Indonesia's nationalism has its roots in the late 19th century, where the Dutch colonial administration ruled the island. Leaders in Indonesia, referring to Sukarno and Muhammad Hatta, they started to promote independence and distinct national identity from the Dutch. And despite the country's diverse population, over 300 ethnic groups and 700 languages, Indonesian nationalism is still distinguished by a strong sense of national pride and unity. And this is frequently attributed to the idea of Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, which also translates to unity in their diversity, which also highlights the social cultural transformation here from the previous Nusantara, as in different kingdoms varying from Majapahit Kingdom, Mataram Kingdom, Sriwijaya Kingdom, and other kingdoms in becoming one or united and developing the territorial areas before in mapping to a modern map that we can use today, for instance, and trying to accept different cultures and traditions, languages and religions and backgrounds in Indonesia. The nationalism of Indonesia also highlights the value of the nation's history and cultural legacy, as well as its position as a leader in Southeast Asia. So, for instance, like the economic transformation, where a nation is formed by not given primordial identity, rather from the consequences of economic, political, and social cultural transformations that happened after the global conflict of World War II. In Indonesia, this could refer from the transition from old order to new order, and they stimulate Indonesian economy. And in 1972, Suharto also succeeded in restoring steady economic growth as well and reducing inflation. Whilst for the political transformation is the establishment of modern style bureaucracy and legal institutions in helping to ensure good governance. So civil society creates mass organizations and adjust to the needs of the community itself. Like this also could refer to Indonesia's government ministries that handle specific issues, like for example, like Indonesia's Ministry of Health or Kemenkes RI, where it is self-explanatory. And overall, as a modernist thinking stated that a nation is an imagined community where it is built up based on ideas, and Indonesia as a modern nation is fully created by brilliant ideas that made up what Indonesia became today. Okay, next is the mixed country of Myanmar. So Myanmar is mixed because it is one of the key characteristics of Myanmar's nationalism, because it defines a future of Burmese identity. So not to mention that they are formerly known as Burma, and Burma as an ethnic group of Burman, which are the primordial aspect, and then they changed to Myanmar because there are efforts made by the military authority to create a new identity within their nation building to be more inclusive. And Myanmar's nationalism also has been characterized by an emphasis on anti-colonialism and anti-imperialism, and this has translated to a strong rejection of external influence and a push for greater self-determination and autonomy for Myanmar itself. Okay, that is all for the first question. Next, we are heading to the second question, or the last question. So here the question is, what are the factors that influence the emergence of nationalism ideas in Southeast Asia? Please explain. So here I conclude that there are 5 factors that influence the emergence of nationalism in most Southeast Asian countries. First is previous colonization experiences, since most Southeast Asian countries were a colony that pursues to be independent and free from the ruling authority. Second is aside that we have economic development. Third is diverse ethnicity of Southeast Asia countries, where they have each and own unique cultures and identities. Nationalism can also emerge as a way to unify these groups and forge them as a common national identity. 4, we have social and political movements, for instance, like the Philippines Revolution in 1896. And 5th is external influences, mainly on the spread of democracy and nationalism, as well globalism, which increase awareness and easy access to exposure of nationalist ideas. And here are the resources. And that is all for my presentation and the answers to the 2 questions of the ASEAN nationalism final exam. I will be ending my video. Thank you, and may God bless you, Sir Joseph.